Now, I've been asked by the organisers to do what is, for me, enormous pleasure. Round Europe, people have been looking at events in Catalonia. They've been appalled by the abuse of democracy, appalled by the state police hammering old-age pensioners over the head, dragging women downstairs to ballot boxes, appalled by the lack of respect for democratic expression, by the jailing of opposition leaders. All appalled, perhaps out with the columns of the Scotsman newspaper, where Mr. Brian Wilson seems to think the Catalan people are involved in a tyrannical expression oppressing the rest of Spain. But just about every other human being on the planet knows what's going on. The difference between the people who know what's going on is the people who are prepared to say it and those who keep their mouths shut in this country and elsewhere because it's not convenient to tell the truth when they see oppression of a people trying to make a democratic, peaceful expression of their right of self-determination. So it is not and never has been our role to tell Catalans what to do. Catalonia isn't Scotland and Scotland isn't Catalonia. That's not our role, but our role should certainly be to show solidarity with those who've been oppressed and their democratic rights so brutally infringed over the last few weeks. And therefore it's my enormous pleasure to ask you to welcome a founding member of the National Coordination for the Popular Referendum of Catalonia, someone who has become renowned internationally for her leadership in grassroots activism, heavily involved in the current drive for Catalonia's independence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage and show your appreciation for and solidarity for Ana Arque.
Lliure. I'm a Catalan, like many other millions of Catalans, loyal to the proclaimed Catalan Republic. Our president is the president of the legitimate Catalan government of the Catalan Republic, el molt honorable Carles Puigdemont. My vice president is Oriol Junqueras, and the legitimate Catalan ministers are Jordi Turull, Josep Rull, Raül Romeva, Dolors Bassa, Meritxell Serret, Clara Ponsatí, Joaquim Forn, Meritxell Borràs, Toni Comín, Lluís Puig, and Carles Mundó. All of them, the legitimate government of the Catalan Republic, being jailed and forced to live abroad because of the Spanish political, judicial, and police violence. This is a European disgrace. This is a disgrace for the basic democratic standards, and therefore we demand to free Catalan European citizens political prisoners, and we communicate that Catalan people will defend its institutions and the democratic, legal, and legitimate Catalan Republic. Good afternoon, good evening. It's the first time that I have my speech written down, because these days, passion in our minds and hearts, I may be carried on, so I prefer to have it written down. I'm sure you understand. First of all, I would like to thank Scottish Independence Convention. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to be here in your Congress, always surrounded with so many Scottish friends, and to congratulate you for the great work, remarking how important is our knowledge, enthusiasm, and networking amongst different collectives to achieve a common goal, for everyone, prosperous Scottish independence. Thank you, of course, very much to SIC in Scotland and its spokesperson, Shona McAlpine. Thank you very much to the Catalan Defence Committee in Scotland. Popular recognition is, on the long term, the most solid solidarity amongst people. Thank you as well to all the Scottish MPs that are calling the attention of those in charge of the European institutions, showing your support for Catalan self-determination and a just proclaimed republic. Thank you as well to the Scottish media or the journalists speaking out in defense of democracy and the democratic fight for independence. Right Honourable Theresa Marwick, Sandra White, Joanna Cherry, Victoria Healy, Eileen Mackay, George Caravan, and so on. Thank you for accepting. Thank you all for accepting my SIC invitation to participate the 1st of October official binding Catalan referendum, and to be accredited as international visitors and or observers. The police violence came to us, they hit us, and you stood by us, you stood with us. You are one of us. Thank you. It amazes us to hear accounts of the valor that liberty arouses in the hearts of those who defend it. But who could believe reports of what goes on every day among the inhabitants of some countries? Who could really believe that one man alone may mistreat 100,000 and deprive them of their liberty? Who would credit such a report if he merely heard it without being present to witness the event? And if this condition occurred only in distant lands and were reported to us, which among us would not assume the tale to be imagined or invented and not really true? Obviously, there is no need of fighting to overcome this single tyrant, for he is automatically defeated if the country refuses consent to its own enslavement. It is not necessary to deprive him of anything, but simply to give him nothing. By ceasing to submit, they would put an end to their servitude. If not, one thing is yield to tyrants. If without any violence they are simply not obeyed, they become naked and undone, and as nothing, just as when the root receives no nourishment, the branch withers and dies. Resolve to serve no more, and you are at once freed. This text, it could be written by a Catalan in 2017, but it was written in 1550s, in 16th century by Etienne de la Boite, an Occitan. have not said French, I said Occident. This text illustrates the old and very much current ongoing battle between those in power using their privileged position for their own benefit, blocking the natural progress of so many others, and do so imposing their definition of success, richness, and prosperity, which they reduce to one thing: money. In 21st century, we still have our own tyrants. Corporate, destroying forests, for example in Brazil, executives underpinning gender inequality, and states using political, economical, judicial, and policemen to repress popular democratic expression. It's easy to lose track of all the anti-democratic actions that the Spanish state has performed surrounding the official Catalan referendum of self-determination, registering printing companies to block what is written, register the media, newspaper offices to block the free expression, to steal ballot slip papers, the closing of webs, of proxy servers. Looks like we're really talking about faraway lands, right? Charging against unarmed families ready to vote, grandmothers included. Hitting us, spraying us, shooting rubber bullets when defending the polling stations because we were defending democracy. It is simply outrageous. But we will not feed the tyrant. We will not feed the monster. We will not become one of them, transforming our love in hatred. Because what is courageous is to stay put and not run away while the uniforms come to hit you. What is courageous is to have the dignity in distressful moments to temper yourself without getting lost in the anger and the hate that you are receiving by others. We will defend the proclaimed Catalan Republic. Yes, we will. Because our love for our people and our country, not because any hate to any other people. We will not lose our principles, but to let it very clear, we will not retreat. We will not step back. And if they decide to perform like cave dwellers, it's up to them. It's their prerogative. If they want to come and use violence, we are not going to assume as ours anymore their democratic shortcomings. We will defend democracy. We will define ourselves. And as Voltaire said, Catalans have extreme love for freedom, and freedom will prevail. Recently, the international media has been referring to Franco legacy, ties to current leading politics, judges, and Spain oligarchy. And they are not mistaken. The so-called Spanish transition was really a transaction. And so Franco machinery, social network in power could use the term democracy to make up and keep ruling Spain. And of course, Catalan self-determination is bursting all the Spanish pretended, but never assumed democratic standards. But Franco is not an exception, since the illegal military occupation in 1714, illegal because it was breaching the international legality, the International Treaty of Utrecht, made in 1713, where it was very clearly stated the sovereignty of the Catalan state and the obligation to respect the Catalan constitutions, which, just to remind, we had Catalan constitutions in the 11th and 12th, since the 11th and 12th century. The Catalan constitutions, rights and freedoms, the occupation of the Catalan institutions were unavoidable, the occupation of the private lives. It has been a constant historical threat of Spanish imposition and Catalan popular institutional resistance. Monarchy and also the Spanish Republican. Left, right, when it comes to the Catalan case, they all have the same position, and that is to don't recognize we are a nation, we are a people, and we have our own rights. Just to look at more some contemporary facts, we should see that since the 20th century, look at what happened to the Catalan presidents. Enric Prat de la Riba, prison. Josep Puig i Cadafal, exile. Francesc Macià, exile and prison. Joan Casanovas, prison and exile. Lluís Companys, prison, exile and executed. Josep Irla, exiled. Josep Terradellas, exiled? I don't know if I'm saying it right now. Exile, right? Because now I said exile, yeah. Jordi Pujol in the 60s, 2 years prison. Artur Mas barred from public office and fined. And Molt Honorable Carles Puigdemont forced to live abroad. Only 2 presidents have not been forced to exile, have not put in jail, or have not been assassinated. And those are the ones that represent a state party in Catalonia, which is the Labour Party. All the rest, all the presidents since the restitution in the 20th century, in 1914, they all have been suffering from the Spanish state, being a republic, being a monarchy, being left, or being right. The judicial independence of Spain, just to put it in place, the World Economic Forum places Spain in the 97th position out of 144 after Botswana. The very much famous Constitutional Spanish Court, the members are pointed out by political parties in power, which are the Conservative PP or the Labour PSOE. So not much independence on that. Of the 753 breaches of the European Human Rights Convention committed by Spain, 352, almost 50%, have been against the right to a fair trial. And they're still saying and wondering why Puigdemont is in Brussels. Well, maybe he's right that probably there's not a fair trial in Spain for Catalans fighting for a democratic independence. Fascism is when justice is administered by a general attorney reproached by the parliament and a judge decorated by the police minister. Only with these notes exposed now, you may imagine that proclaiming the Catalan Republic in itself, it has been a huge achievement. It's not consolidated yet, but only proclaim the Catalan Republic. It's a huge Catalan achievement. And it's an achievement done by the people, because it has been very much explained that the Catalan process is from below down to up. I don't really like these up and down things. I think we're all citizens, and it just happens that some of us have the job to be a politician. So I always say more that it's between us that we manage. But to put this up and down thing, that is from the bottom to the top. And it's absolutely correct. But it has not been a fairy tale inside Catalonia either. In 2009, some people, maybe we just said we should stop crying out to Madrid because nothing changes. And we managed to do like 180 change of perspective and start looking at our own politicians, the nationalist, the independentist politicians, and tell them, look, stop singing "We Are a Nation" and let's start to exercise as such. Let's exercise like a nation. That didn't go down that well. And when we presented a popular legislative initiative into our parliament, well, it was not that positive, and basically our own politicians said that it was not possible to vote on independence, which, of course, the people didn't agree. So we started to ask ourselves about independence, and we organized in 555 municipalities a vote, and a popular vote, so everybody could express themselves and to show to our politicians that, of course, we were prepared, and of course, to ask about independence is legal and it's possible. And 82% of all these people, there were 60,000 volunteers, almost 1 million voting from 2009 and 2011. 82% of the volunteers didn't come from any political party, neither from a cultural association, but from our houses, as myself, from our private life. And we created a positive scenario where we could discuss about self-determination, and suddenly something great happened. People from all walks of life, from different ideologies, ages, professions, suddenly in these assemblies, they realized that they had relatives in the meeting. They had some neighbors. So we managed to transform what it was almost like a secretive, intimate, personal dream, utopia. It became a collective determination because we met ourselves, and of course we were majority, and of course we won independence and we won freedom. So from these municipalities, that was the seat for the Catalan Assembly, National Assembly, to build upon. With the popular referendums, we managed to verbalize our wish, our ambition for independence. And then what we needed was a picture of all of us together. And that is what has happened in recent years with these huge demonstrations, peaceful and civic positive demonstrations. So with the popular referendums, the official polls changed dramatically, and they show a majority for independence. And then our politicians raised the eyebrows. And of course, they, which many of them wanted independence, got the courage because they saw the people were there and we were organized and we were ready. So from this point, we managed to transform this social majority into a political majority. And this is the political majority that has been made us able to approve the law for self-determination and the law, and we proclaim the Catalan Republic. This political majority that comes from a social majority. And so basically, Catalan process, it has been a mirrors game. We put first a mirror to our nationalist parties. We are putting, self-determination is putting a mirror to the Spanish state for everybody to see that this rock that we are carrying over our shoulders for so many decades and centuries, now everybody is ready to see what is repression and what is really the Spanish state about. And we are also putting a mirror in front of the European Union. This was not our main objective. Some of us, we thought that it could come intertwined, but we had enough with independence. But now it looks that we also has opened like a certain battle in the European Union. And it's fair enough because Catalans, we are European citizens. And what happens to us is the same that can happen, or are the same griefs for a Finnish or a Danish, because what happens is an attack to democracy and to the values, the democratic values. So there's a Martin Luther King saying that says, anywhere, and injustice and justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that's quite right. So, and to conclude, what's now? What's going on now? Okay, so elections are coming, and we will confront, participate. We're still picking up the verb to talk about these imposed and illegitimate elections. But there's going to be an opportunity to once again win and to consolidate the Catalan Republic. We will be there. We don't know still in which manner, but we will be there because when we were saying that we are not afraid of democracy, we really mean it. And when we say we are not afraid of ballot boxes, we really mean it because we trust in ourselves. And we hope that everybody still believing in us and believing in the Catalan Republic, because it will come and it will consolidate. Socrates used to say, rest or fight for freedom, because both things at the same time can happen. Okay, we're not resting, we are fighting for independence because it's legal and it's legitimate and it's democratic. And we are not, and I say it again because this is an important idea, that we are not going to assume anymore the Spanish democratic shortcomings. We will defend the Catalan Republic and we will consolidate it. And to finish, as Mandela used to say, may your actions reflect your hopes and not your fears. That's exactly what Catalans we are going to do. So yes for Scotland, y visca la República Catalana, visca Catalunya lliure. Thank you very much. Ciao, Alba.
What an ambassador for her republic, come on!